Hello BookTube. In this video I'm going to be doing the I Am the Reader book tag. I was tagged by the Bookish Bryants, and the tag was created by Kelly of Books I'm Not Reading, and both links will be down below. And thank you to the Bookish Bryants for tagging me. So let's begin. Prompt number 1. Choose one word that describes being a reader. I'm going to go with insane. I am fairly weird as a reader. Like I've said a few times before lately, my readings can sometimes be obsessive and obsessional. I go through some phases where I'm completely in love with certain genres. When I was middle school, it was detective fiction. Then I moved to a brief science fiction and fantasy phase. Went through a long literary fiction phase and literary criticism phase during my college years, and then I've been in a largely science fiction and fantasy phase for the past 10 years or so, and now I've been largely, it seems like I'm gravitating more towards nonfiction and history. And then there's these weird bits where there are books I have loved or writers I've enjoyed that on rereading them or reading follow-ups by them, I can't stand them. It's just, I'm a very weird, inconsistent reader, but a passionate one. It's just, yeah, it's never quite like what I like. Prompt number 2. What is the very first book you fell in love with? I'm going to go with The True Story of the Three Little Pigs. It's a children's picture book written by, let me look it up real quick. I was meaning to do this earlier and I completely forgot. So it basically takes the story of the Three Little Pigs and tells it from the wolf's perspective. And so basically the wolf in this case is asking for a cup of sugar. And so he goes to each of the three pigs. Now in this case the three pigs are jerks. And they both refuse to give him a cup of sugar. So he goes to the first pig's house, who's made of straw. He's asked for the sugar. He's refused. The wolf has a very bad cold, so he sneezes, blows the house down, and then eats the pig, and then so on and so forth. Until eventually when he gets to the third pig's house, he can't knock it down, but he's eventually arrested and sent to prison. But the author is John Scieszka, with Lane Smith, I think, as the illustrator. So anyway, so that was a great one. We had it, I want to say we probably bought it when I was early elementary school through the Scholastic. So I don't know how other countries, or whether or not it's common throughout the US, but when I was a kid and continuing now in at least Texas public school system, Scholastic will provide every few months a kind of catalog, maybe 4 or 5 page catalog, where students can go through, pick books out, and then their parents can pay for them, and the teacher sends them off, and then a few weeks later the books come in, and so we had it. Me and my brother read it and loved it. Excuse me. I don't know what happened to that copy. Whether we gave it away to somebody or we like took it to Golden's or something. But a few years ago, about going on 4 years ago, because it was, I think, Christmas of 2016, I bought a copy, went to Barnes & Noble to find a copy to give to my nephew. Although he's not much of a reader, and I don't know whether or not where my brother eventually put that book. So anyway, let's get back to, okay, so question number 3, hardcover or paperback? I like both. Hardcover or paperback, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I like both. Prompt number 4, how has reading shaped your identity? It's really, I think, reading has expanded my horizons far more than it would have had I not have been a reader. Prompt number 5, what book do you read when you need to be comforted? That one is a tough one because ultimately going back to my inconsistency, my sort of mutability as a reader, is that there's no real book or genre or writer that I can go to be comforted. I mean, when I had a late December reading slump last year, I read a whole slew of fantasy books and was getting burned out. And then I read Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun, and it really perked me up. But then going through, I wouldn't say necessarily a reading slump this year as much as it's been a reading like taste change or something, and trying to read like some Agatha Christie's Evil Under the Sun, Hickory Dickory Dock didn't quite do it for me. But then reading a lot of the nonfiction that I've been reading this past year so far has just perked me up wonderfully. So I don't think I can really point to like a single book or genre or writer that I can go to for instant comfort. It's whatever I'm in the mood for at that moment and needing. And then that usually will perk me up. Question number 6. Who taught you to be a reader? Me. I mean, generally my love of books was generally by me. That me wanting to be a reader really is me. My dad was never much of a reader. My mom, while she's a reader now, and she was when I was younger, she never really sort of imparted that. She was very much sort of do what you want to do. And so I really started enjoying to read, found it a wonderful pastime and something I really enjoyed doing, and so I just kept reading. And gradually, as the careers I wanted to do required a lot of reading, it kind of snowballed. So generally speaking, I taught myself to be a reader. While not necessarily teaching myself to read, that goes to obviously the public school system and to a babysitter I had when I was much younger who taught me to read before school. Question number 7. Describe your dream reading lounge. I have several. Um, so the one if I absolutely had what I wanted, would be a screened-in porch, either like a or a screened-in balcony. So when I went to St. Edward's for university, one of the faculty office buildings is Soren Hall. It's sort of this little old house. I mean, it looks like a two-story house, even though I don't think it was ever actually a residence for anyone. I mean, St. Edward's does have a tendency to remodel old dorms into office buildings. The actual dorm I lived in when I was a freshman was about 3 years later. I mean, when I was like at least, I think my junior year, they converted that dorm into offices, faculty offices. And then I think later they remodeled the neighboring girls' dorm into offices too. So, but anyway, getting back to what I was saying. So, Soren Hall at the back has a screened-in back porch and also upper balcony. And I would go sometimes. I just go sit on the back porch and just read for a little while. And also, one of my favorite professors and my advisor, he had his office in a little room that kind of you go through the balcony porch and then to his office. And that was a fantastic place to read. And I would love to have a place like that. I mean, admittedly, of course, it would be a bit difficult to get your, like, to put your bookshelves there. So it wouldn't necessarily be a reading room or like a book room. But I would love to have, like, if I couldn't get my screened-in porch, I would like to have like a largest room with the walls lined with books, except for windows. Because I do like a lot of natural light. I much prefer natural light to artificial light when it comes to reading. And then have like a comfortable chair and sturdy chair, because I'm pretty rough on chairs and couches. Or a couch with a side table and just a nice place to read. Prompt number 8. What book changed the way you act or see the world? I'm going to go a bit esoteric here and go with some literary theory books. I rather like, because I was an English lit major, and one of the scariest parts of being an English lit major is eventually tackling literary theory. And so, yeah, this literary theory is often this very hard, complicated, badly written sort of aspect of literary criticism and literary studies. But reading some of these books I'm about to mention, I kind of realized that, I mean, really it's just how you look at it. I mean, it's really, like, there was a switch that was from, this is really difficult, to, it's actually really not. It's just, I mean, how you look at it. But I would go with, like, say, Discipline and Punish by Michel Foucault, Gender Trouble by Judith Butler. There's a book by Grigory Lukács. And I'm pretty sure I'm butchering his name. He was a early mid-20th century Hungarian literary theorist specializing in Marxism. There was a book I read of his, and I'm blanking on the name of it, It's where he looked at like 19th century realist novels, and he did a fantastic. It was a fantastic book, um, and it just like turned a switch on in my head, and so yeah. Although that said, Of Grammatology by Jacques Derrida is still horrific. I've tried to read that book twice, and I'm like, I don't know if it's the translation or he's just not really a very good writer, but yikes. Anyway, so that was the I Am the Reader book tag. I don't know who all has done this tag, so if you haven't and you'd be interested in doing this tag, um, consider yourselves tagged. And if you would like for me to, when I do these tags, to tag you or specifically, do let me know, and I will try to make a note to specifically tag people in future tags. Although if there are any tags I make myself, I will definitely make sure to tag people first. So anyway, until then, I will have a reading, well, weekly reads here in a few hours. So until then, have a great day, BookTube, and stay safe.